Welcome, bitches. This is the With Love Nic podcast. There is nothing off limits here. Oh, get on your power panties. Success happens on the other side of conventional thinking. I say this all the time because when I was conventionally thinking, it left me burnt out and drunk. Welcome to this week's episode of the With Love Nic podcast. Hello, everyone. Today is the day. Welcome to this week's episode of With Love Nic, the podcast. I have Adele Tevlin. I am so excited. How are you, babe?
I am honestly just on a cloud right now.
Literally, we've been waiting for this day. This is the first time Adele and I have seen each other face to face ever, and it feels like we've known each other.
100%.
And yeah, I'm really excited to dive into this because I feel like your story, where you came from, everything that you're doing, it takes it to a whole new level. And I think this is going to bring such diversity to the episodes that I've had on the podcast. So I would love for you to introduce yourself first and foremost. And I really want to start with just saying, holy fuck. Watching you is just I'm like, I want to be you when I grow up. It's so elevating. I love everything that you stand for, everything that you do. So let's have you introduce yourself and we will just go from there.
Oh my goodness, I'm blushing. It takes a lot to make me blush. So
I did it.
I did it. Thank you. I'm very grateful to be here. And it's so special when you're seen and you're witnessed by people and they really see you for who you are. And I think in with the world that we live in the industry that we're in, and I have so much to say about that, there's so much smoke and mirrors. But I think that when you come face to face with the real deal and you come face to face with authenticity, it's very magnetic, and I see that in you and I feel like we've known each other forever. I remember finding you on the internet. I was like, you came into my stories, you slid into my DMs, like they say. I'm like too old for that shit. I'm like, what does sliding into your DMs mean? My husband's like, babe, come on.
It's how we slide in.
Yeah, I know. Um, and I was like, I saw your stuff and I was like, you're so magnetic too, right? And it's just like I just think when people are in their power and they own themselves fully, it's so captivating. Anyway, that's not what you asked me, but I just wanted to say that. So I promised to answer
I
your
love
question.
you. It's going to be a lot of this. Manny, Jen, let's go.
Yeah, squirrel. So who introduce myself? My name's Adele Tevlin. It's hard to even describe what I do, but I'm a neuroscientist by education and
Mm.
psychology major. I've studied human behavior in the brain since 2000. I'm dating myself. Went to McGill University, studied also at Harvard University, have done my cognitive behavioral certification at the Beck Institute. I'm trained in DBR and DBT and all the things. So that's my sort of like professional resume. As my parents would say, you've paid for a lot of diplomas on your wall. Yes, I have.
Yes, I
But
have.
yeah, but what I really consider myself to be is a subconscious mind engineer, meaning
Mm.
like I I've always had this gift, Nic, around like meeting people. And like when I was young, and I've shared this on my podcast, like my mom would take me to psychics and like we would do all the woo-woo things, which I loved because my mother was a dentist. She's retired now. So she was a very like dentist, like this is the data, right? But she was also like, we're gonna go see this like psychic or we're gonna see this medium. And this is back in like the 80s and 90s where like people weren't doing that like
Yeah.
every day.
It wasn't
Now
as prominent. Yeah.
everyone has a medium now, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so um, they would always say your daughter's very gifted, like spiritually.
Mm.
And so I think what's happened over time is that I have my science roots and my science brain and my data analytical brain, but I'm also incredibly intuitive and spiritual and have been able to connect dots for people or see patterns in people. And so now what I do is, as a coach, as a mentor, is I basically show people what's standing in their way, like the patterns or the blind spots. I bring it in front of them so they can have awareness and address them, and then I help them heal those blocks or rewire the subconscious mind, however you want to say it, so that they can step into and own their full power and claim it, because we're all born with so much power, and
Yeah.
our childhood conditioning often beats that power out of us, whether it's consciously or unconsciously. And so that was my journey, was like doing the healing on myself, like being my own student first, and then from that place teaching.
I
Yeah.
love that you said that. I love everything that you said. I want to dive into so much of it. Being the student first,
Hmm.
learning first, mastering first. It's
Yeah.
like we can't take people to we can get people results that we haven't generated ourselves, but we
Yeah.
can't take people to the edge that we haven't
No.
been to. And I think that that's so important to remember. And first of all, can we just touch on like all the shit you've done in your life?
Well, I am 43,
Like,
so just gonna put that out there.
girl, I'm going to be 38 this year, and I am so excited for my 40s.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put that out there. Watching
Yeah.
you just, oh, I get like chills thinking about it because like watching you really captivates me. I really see you as a human being. And oh, stop it. Don't do it. It takes a lot to get me emotional on the podcast. It's only happened one time before. But like I watch you, I watch the way that you move, and it's like your words match your actions. And I mean, like look at you. You know what I mean? It's like the internal is matching the external, and that's just such a beautiful thing. So I just wanted to make you blush even more.
And I'm literally like ratty t-shirt. No, I mean it's a James Pierce. It's expensive, but
It's
it's ratty.
expensive. It's this
It's
whole
ratty.
thing. This
Yeah.
whole thing.
Thank you for
Uh,
saying that. And I actually just want to speak to that for a quick sec, if I can. Like
yeah,
the external matching the internal is actually like, can we just like say all the things we want to say on this podcast?
absolutely.
Okay. Like I can be unscripted.
Absolutely. Abso-fucking-lutely.
Okay. So the biggest problem that I have in the online space right now, and that I really struggle with, is that there is so much external not matching the internal. And again, I'm not saying this to make wrong, like I'm not coming, it's not judgment. It's really having had to, with discernment, be like, this is an industry. Like I have treated my profession like a real profession. You treat your profession like a profession. You can tell who is like, I didn't just do a weekend course and called myself an expert. I've
Mm,
had 10,000 hours. I've
mm,
had 10,000 people in front of me. I've had, or not even 10,000, but I've worked with so many people. I've seen so many results. I've picked up data, trends. I've been my own student. I turn myself inside out every fucking day. I have this mentor and this coach, like you said to me on the other day, like I have this person and this person. I'm basically like a pro athlete in my mind, being like, if I'm going to the Olympics, I'm having 25 coaches get me there, right?
yeah.
Like I'm making sure that I'm a well fucking oiled machine.
Mhm.
And what I find is that the coaching space and the online space, for many reasons, which you don't have time to get into, has become this interesting mix of the people who really are certified, have the credentials, have the knowledge, the understanding, the awareness, the tools, the education
Mm,
to help people, and then the people that want to look like they do, but they don't, and it becomes a bit of a dangerous, slippery slope. And so when I hear like you, like as you observing me, who doesn't know me, to say, wow, like your actions and your movements align with what you say and do, that's the greatest fucking compliment you can give me. You know what I'm saying? Because
yeah. Yeah.
I see so much of that, the opposite of that, that my husband and I, like often, like off camera, so to speak, will talk about this off camera. Like I'm not on like the Truman Show, but I sort of
Okay.
feel like
Like, are they watching? Are they
yeah,
watching?
yeah, yeah, like offline, I'm just like, and my husband will be like, babe, just mute it out. You're a pro, you're a
Mm,
shark, just swim in the water. And I
mm,
have to, it's sometimes like the integrity of the industry. There's this, I think we're coming on this precipice of like it changing again, where the people that are really here for the right reasons, that are here to stay, like it's a profession, they're going to swim to the top. and the people that have tried to hold on because they thought they could make a quick buck or they thought it was like an easy way to make money. It's not.
Oh,
Spoiler alert.
right, right. It's like
No,
none of us have this little secret you think,
no.
when
It
you're
is
when
the
you have people go through a program and they're like, "Can you just like write down what to do?" And it's like it
no.
doesn't work that way. It doesn't
Hardest
fucking work
profession.
that
This is
way.
like one of the hardest professions. But anyway, so just for you to say that, I think is a huge, huge compliment. And I say the same for you. Like, this is why I'm here. I wouldn't even like, we're a match. Like, I'm here, we're here together because we see that authenticity and
Mm,
we see that professionalism and that realness. And that is something that I want to see coming back in the coaching space, because if it were a certified profession, or like it had like a, like in psychology you have like the body of psychology, like basically it's an institution where you can't just get away with doing anything, right? Like the medical
right.
body. If the coaching system had a similar thing, we would see a very different landscape.
Very
Does that make
different
sense?
landscape.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And can I just speak on,
Mhm.
um, we operate at a very similar frequency. I can already just I feel so warm and comfortable having this conversation with you, so I can just like tell we're on the same wavelength here. But it's like, can I just speak on how
Mhm.
hard it is for the women who are here for the right reasons to actually stay tapped in to their highest potential and their highest form of authenticity? Because we are in an industry where we consume. We are in an industry where we are very easily influenced. And I find that with so much noise going on in the industry that is starting to die down, but for the last 5 years it's just been like the the bigger body of my personal development has been making sure that I've been tapped into my authenticity, because oftentimes, and I would love to hear your take on this because you do work so closely with the subconscious, is like how fucking much work it takes to stay tapped into our truth and rooted in that when there is so much noise, and and a lot of people that come in for the quick buck and not being here for the right reasons, don't understand that that's a whole nother arena of work that we're doing. It's not just the marketing, it's not just the making the money, it's the staying connected to yourself, it's the coming
Oh,
back home when you feel like you're taken off the path. It's really staying honed in on your vision and not trying to manifest other people's visions as you see, like, oh, this is shiny, this will work, I wonder, and then it's like all of a sudden you find yourself in this, like, how the fuck did I get here? Like, can we just talk about that? And
yeah.
I would love
Yes.
to hear your take on, like, where the subconscious steps in with that.
Okay. Oh my God. So
Do we have a
firstly,
couple hours?
yeah, I was gonna say, how long do we have? So, okay, so I want to speak to the first thing that you said, which is I think that it is so natural when you're looking at the online space. And I think we all go through this process. And I want to say this for the listeners because the last thing I ever want people to feel is guilt or shame, because that's part of the work I do, is to eradicate guilt and shame. We have all gone through a process. Like, do you remember when we were in high school, or maybe even elementary school, where you would like your best friend would go buy like Levi's jeans or whatever, and then you wanted to buy the same Levi's jeans, and you all wore the same fucking outfits. Like, remember, like all of your
Yeah,
friends, like you wanted to be this homogeneous thing. So when you think about our childhood conditioning or even into our young adolescence, we are taught to want to be the same as people. Like can I just tell you a true story? When I was
absolutely.
when I was a kid, and I have like this big curly hair, which is now up in a bun, but my mother, my babysitter at the time, would like brush out my curly hair, and I would go to school with this like fro and eat salami sandwiches because my parents are Russian Jewish and like they didn't eat PB&J. And like I was like all my friends were Jessica and my name was Adele, which was not cool back then. No one was Adele. And I remember these experiences, Nick, of always feeling like I'm so fucking different. I just want to be the same
Mm,
as everybody. Like, can I be a Jessica with blonde hair? Can I have peanut butter and jam sandwiches? And as funny as that is, it's a real true story around we as children, especially growing up in the Western world. I can't speak for like different parts of the world, but I know growing up here, it was like you sort of want to be like all your friends, especially in high school. You want to wear the same jeans, you want to do all the same things. So we don't really strive for individualism or uniqueness. And then I think we sort of, as we get older, I can speak for myself, like actually to your point about being in my 40s, like when I hit my sort of mid to late 30s and stepped into my 40s, something happened where I was like, oh, I'm Adele. I want my curly,
Yeah.
stop straightening it. Like I was like, I'm fucking this way. I love myself for how I am. I've done a lot of work to get here too. But I was like, the last thing I want is to be like everybody else. But
Mm.
we all have to go through this sort of like hero's journey, for lack of better words, around wanting to be like everyone else and then deciding that you actually want to claim and own your own uniqueness,
Yes.
even if it's like your quirks, or for me, it was like my tics, or it was like having big curly hair, and, or it was like, back then it was like maybe being more curvy or whatever it was that I tried to be the antithesis of it. It was finally deciding and claiming that I love myself as I am.
Yeah.
And I think that that is a maturity game. I think it's really hard to feel that way sometimes in your 20s as you're going through other life
Mm.
transitions. But I think being a parent, and you could speak to that, being a parent, I was like zero fucks to give about a lot of things. Being a
Yeah.
mom, being a single mom, I was like zero fucks to give. Going through my own mental health crisis, I was like zero fucks to give. And as I've sort of, Nick, like peeled back these layers of myself, the closer I become, or the closer I come into contact with my authenticity, which I think is an ever evolving journey because you're never the same,
Yeah.
the more I'm like in alignment with my truth. And the less I care about what other people are doing and saying, and the less I care about what they think about what I'm doing and saying. So I think we all, as children and young adolescents, crave, all we want to do is be safe and loved by the community. So everything we do is to stay in connection with our caregivers, and then that then extends out to our peer group. So like if you're in a peer group that's like, I love purple whatever, and you're like, no, I love green whatever, you don't want to be known as the person that likes the different thing.
Yeah.
But now as a grown up, and this is, I say this from a place of like, even when we look at the online space, what I'm getting to is we've all wanted to copy and mirror people that we revere. It's a natural
Absolutely.
biological thing. So I say this because I don't ever want people to feel shame. Many times I've gone on the internet, I've had a past participant participate in my work for years and then go out and basically try to be me. Like it happens all the time. And I remember being really triggered by that, you know, a few years ago because I was like, how dare they? Right? Like you're literally trying to regurgitate everything I taught you.
Mm-hmm.
But then I realized they're just trying to find their own self-expression through
Yeah.
me. And
Mhm.
nobody can be me. Like nobody can be you. You can try to imitate or emulate, but you're never going to be. And I have compassion because I've probably tried to imitate my mentors in the past, or there's probably someone I looked up to that I started to do things very similarly. So I say this because I think it's something we all have to go through. And I think we
Mm.
can feel a lot of shame about it at times because you're
Yeah.
kind of like, oh, like, I feel like I'm stealing from people. But what I've actually realized is people just, imitation is really the greatest form of flattery. And they're just trying to find their own voice, is what I truly see.
Yeah. It's like, I love that you spoke on that. So thank you. And it's like, we only know what we know. So I see the imitation and I see the taking ideas from others and implementing them. And, I see that as kind of like a baseline of finding our own selves. Like, how are we supposed to
Mm.
find who we are meant to be without integrating things from a different lens? And so we all have all gone through, you know, seasons of that. And I truly believe that we'll do that for the rest of our lives in some way, shape, or form. And it gets easier to navigate as we truly discover who, deep down who we desire to be and how we desire to operate and the life that we desire to build. But it's like, where do we actually start if we're not, there's not some sort of imitation there, because we do only know what we know. We only operate how we operate. So if we're not integrating new things from, somebody else's unique coding or through somebody else's lens, it's like, how do we figure
Yes.
out that?
Yes. But you just said something that is like the key and the cornerstone. You said, and this is the piece that's missing that I think for a lot of people, integrating what you're learning
Yeah.
already makes it yours. Okay. So for example, like let's say I'm taking a workshop from a mentor and they teach a distinction that is new to me, whatever that is. And I take that distinction, I integrate it into my physiology, right? My mind, my neurochemistry,
Mm-hmm.
my coding, as you say. I'm integrating it. So now it's already becoming part of me. And then I teach from that integration. That already has a different frequency than the person that
Absolutely.
shared it. Okay. So that's very important. What I'm talking about that I think is where people need to clean up, this is where we need to clean things up, is they to hear the distinction, they regurgitate the distinction. The distinction is not integrated. They're like, Nick, you just said quantum success codes, right? And they're like, that sounds so fucking cool. But yeah, not like, I want quantum success. Who the fuck doesn't want quantum success codes? But they don't know, that's not part of their physiology. It's not like they've worked that through. They haven't like taken that all the way through their transformation sequence that I
Mm,
teach. And so they're trying to teach like you without having integrated it first.
yes, absolutely.
Okay. Once we integrate, it's yours. So that's my point, is that the
Mhm.
industry I have found, and this is something that I would love to hear your perspective too. I think you're right, where it is kind of shifting out of this a little bit finally. Over the last couple of years, what I started to feel, Nick, was like, and I think we've all felt this. Like I've talked about this with Melanie and Layer. I've talked about this with Katie. I've talked about this with Cassie. I've talked about this with so many people because we were all part of the same mastermind. It was like we came out of the gate 2020, 2021. Sorry, yeah, COVID. Those of us in that industry at the time, just it was like boom, like fireworks, because people were at home locked in. They were needing something to anchor into. It was like, what better way to invest your time than in yourself? It gave us a community, a purpose. I was leading Morning Mindset Club every day for 3 years. Like I was at my computer all day, every day for 3 years. My business was skyrocketing. We generated like 7 million in sales in those 3 years. It was bananas. And then 2022, 2023 were really hard years for a lot of us. Even the pros were starting to struggle because um, people were soured by the industry a little bit. So people
Mhm.
started to get gun shy. Even if you were credible, it was like, like it's giving me the ick. It's
Yeah.
giving ick factor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because people were not integrated that were teaching. Again, this is just my perspective. Like I share this with people, like I've really contemplated this, as you can tell. Like this is what I think about in the bath. I'm like, da, 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 like I really, as a scientist, tried to understand human behavior. And I'm like, okay, so like people got the ick. People started to like, the recession, money started to, people were going back to work, all the reasons. And so even people like Cassie, like me, like Melanie, like Katie, we noticed a dip. We noticed a dip. And that got a lot of us freaked out
Yeah.
because it was like, if I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I'm here for the right reasons. And this is my whole thing. Like, it's not this and also this at the side. Like, this is it. And so, what I've now started to notice is that the people that are integrated, right? The people that are really here for the right reasons, that are in alignment, that are literally living and breathing and walking and talking, they're the ones that we're coming out of this with this rise. Because what happened, this is what I was going to say, I've noticed over the last few years, and I'd love to hear your perspective, everyone started to sound the same on the internet.
Mm.
Everyone was using the same lingo, quantum vaginal manifestation here, or some,
The Sky Daddies.
I said vagina on the internet the other day. I was like, guys, I'm serious. I've stepped into an era of truth. I can't even tell you. Like, I'm just like, and so everyone started to say the things. And what happened, because they heard it from Kim and Ami, or they heard it from, and
Mm.
it sort of started to sound like everybody in the coaching space was saying the same thing. But what you can always tell, and I'm even sharing this for the listeners so that they can have a discerning ear, because I can't tell you how many people came into my world and were like, I felt like I got frauded here and there and the other thing. And so like we need to clean up the industry because I think we're actually doing
Yes.
something very fucking powerful.
Mm.
And I think that I really take what I do seriously. I feel like I can hear now, and I don't know if you feel the same when someone is saying it, they don't believe it, they're not integrated, it's not in alignment, they're not walking it, they're not talking, they're just talking it versus someone like you. That's why I was captivated by you because I was like, she's for real. Like same thing. Like there's an energy about her that she does really believe and live the way that she teaches. And maybe not 100% of the time because nobody fucking does 100% of the time. Sometimes even though I teach pattern work and I teach discernment and not being in reaction and I teach healing, there are days where I'm like,
You're doing it in reaction, like motherfucker.
like driving and I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't stand it. So listen, I'm not perfect, neither are you, but I'm so in alignment with what I teach. And when I'm no longer in alignment with what I teach, I pivot what I teach.
1,000,000%. I'm so glad that you said that.
Yeah.
I am
Because
so glad that you said
yeah,
that.
there are things that I'm no longer like, and I want to hear your perspective. Like, I feel like when I'm no longer like in alignment or I feel like completed that journey or that cycle or that whatever that is, and I feel complete with it, and I feel a new download or a new evolution of myself. And now I want to talk about that because I'm living and breathing that, and I'm no longer really in alignment with that. So that's the emotional maturity to know that it's time
Mm,
to pivot.
yeah. Oh, I want to speak on that so bad. But
Mhm.
it was the same when I found you. I was like, thank fucking God. Another
Someone who's not saying
human.
vagina on the
Yes.
internet? Okay, oh,
Let's
sorry, that's pathetic.
manifest in our vagina. Okay. So, yes, I have, okay. My brain's going two different ways. So,
Yeah, go ahead.
in 2022 and 2023, in 2022, I got sober, pivoted, closed my
Mhm.
business down, took out a $20,000 business loan to take a month off, did all of the things. And I noticed when I came back, so many people, the first thing that they said is, I was fucked over by so and so. And so, like, you're not going to do that, right? That was so many of those conversations, right? And so I was like, did I come back? Did I interrupt something? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
what's going on here? Um,
Did I interrupt?
but it was like
Yeah.
I feel like in 2023 I came back guns ablazing. It was a a comeback that I did not expect to happen, but it was a lot of overflow from the people who were traumatized by the COVID coaching era in the industry, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so many of those conversations is one of the things I wanted to say. And then the completion and the pivot.
Mhm.
Now, I think this is important, a very important conversation that more people should have because one of the things that I work with and with my clients, and one of the patterns that I notice is so many people are scared to pivot or shed something gratefully that has served them in the past and move into a new level of income, self-leadership, clients, offers, whatever it may be, because of this deeply rooted way back when conditioning that something coming to completion means that it has to be bad, right?
Oh my God.
Oh,
I just
oh, you
chill.
got a divorce? Well, what happened?
Yeah.
Well, what happened? Oh, you
Mhm.
no longer have that offer? What happened? And it's like it just came to completion. I was complete. I felt it was everything that I needed to experience in that
Mhm.
season has come to a completion. But I feel like everybody, there needs to be something bad attached to it, or they haven't hit rock bottom, or they don't need to pivot, or it will continue to create success. If they stay consistent, it'll come back to them. And it's like, not everything has to be this like catastrophic fucking thing for us to pivot and move on to the next season of our life. Like, could you imagine if we just stayed in the same season because we didn't hit rock bottom yet or it didn't flop yet? It's like, or we just have the discernment and the awareness to know that I like things to come to completion when I know they're complete instead of running them into the motherfucking ground. And, and it's like, I
And
think this
hating
is,
your life.
yeah.
Yes.
And this is where a lot of people, when a relationship ends or a job ends or something like that, it's like, oh, I need to go out with a bang. It's like, or just let it complete
Mhm.
its cycle, but we have this subconscious response to, well, if
Yeah.
it's not going to end bad, we need to come in with a bang and
Oh,
end it on bad terms. And so I would love to hear your take on that because that
that's
is such a
right.
common conversation when people come in and they're like, well, I'm not sure if I want to pivot yet because it created so much success in my life. And I'm like, well, how the fuck is that working for you right
Yeah.
now? Like, how is that working for you when you're trying to go from six-figure business model to a multiple six-figure business model, right? Like,
Yeah.
I could go on.
So
I
much
could go
I
on.
should say. I totally, I hear you. I get the whole, I totally hear you. So I have a lot to say, but number one, I want to say congratulations for getting sober. That is cool. I didn't know
Thank
that
you.
about your story. So that was in
Yeah, thank you.
2022.
Yep, it'll be 2 years, September 6th of this year.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
That is like, once you've done that, you can do anything, right? Like, so amazing. That's a conversation for another day. But
Yes.
anyway, back to your
Yes.
question. So I always go back to childhood because that's my training. And I literally get tears in my eyes when I think about it. But it's like people don't really realize the depth at which they are living their adult, they're in an adult body making decisions as a 6-year-old. That's truly the work that I
Wow.
teach is like, here you are, present day adult body, adult physical form, but the 6-year-old, the wounded 6-year-old is driving the car. It's operating heavy machinery, making decisions for you. And I can always, that's what I spot the most in people. That's sort of like my, intuitive hit is, oh, this is the wounded, traumatized 6-year-old who didn't get her needs met or who's afraid of change because mom and dad were always fighting or moving a lot. And so there, when you think about, to your point, pivoting or letting go of something, even if it's fucking toxic, is so scary for the average person because letting go literally means like something bad is going to happen. I'm not
Yeah.
safe anymore.
Mm.
Letting go of drinking, even if it's killing me, letting go of this toxic relationship, even though I'm getting hit, letting go of, punishing my body and, being anorexic or whatever. I mean, I started my career with eating disorders. So it's like the control that we feel by trying to keep things the same is a childhood wound.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's already when I hear someone talking like that, I'm like 6-year-olds in the driver's seat, not 46-year-old or
Mhm.
36-year-old. So part one, people are afraid of change. But let's just say it straight. I think I did a story about that the other day. Like we resist change at all costs. We don't want to change relationships, right? We don't want to change offers. We think something worked, so it should work again. I've been caught in that season too. Like I kind of tried to 2020, 2021, I tried to recreate that. I kept trying
Mm.
to recreate it because I was like, I did 2.5 million doing it. Like, but it's not working anymore. And it's like, because I'm not in alignment with it anymore.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about that anymore. I don't want to talk to those kinds of people anymore. I want to change my avatar. I want to speak to a more self-led buyer. But when I did that, I was speaking to someone who wanted to be saved because I'm a rescuer. So like these are the real nuances that people need to be thinking about. But when we're thinking about pivoting and letting go, even though letting go is the law of sacrifice, which is that in order for me to ascend to a higher level of consciousness, I have to let go of something of a lower nature. But we don't want to let go because it triggers our childhood wound or the amygdala, which is literally like, if I lose this, I will be abandoned. If I lose this, I'm not safe. So I try to keep things the same.
Yeah.
And so I say this because the point of the story is we can't ever keep things the same. Things, and you know this from a universal intelligence perspective, things are always moving and evolving and changing. And, things are meant to come to completion to I love what you said. Like we think that when we have to complete, it means like a breakup or something bad happened.
Mm.
But one of the most powerful things I've experienced in mentorship, Nick, is that when I mentored with Melanie and Lair, which was 2 years we were together in private coaching, and to this day, we are like, love each other to death. Like that relationship was for both of us so powerful. We went through so many things together. I went through like so many heartaches and a miscarriage. And like we were not just there in business, but we were there in like humanity.
Mm,
And one of the most powerful things, I share the story because I think when we talk about females, mentorship, relationships, we often think of the wounded female relationship, which is like the catty, trying to take each other down.
yeah.
But I've had this beautiful experience over the last 4 years of being in mentorship, whether I'm the mentor or they're the mentor, where we can complete, like say, like we did 2 years together and I had the time of my life, but I'm complete. And it feels like love.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like hate. It doesn't feel like I have anything bad to say. It just felt like for now, it feels complete. And I trust that we'll be back together if that's aligned. And so I have really learned that one of the greatest things we can do as women is heal that wounding that we have with other women where, or even with men, but I really see it with women where it's like we've got to take each other down or say something bad about each other to justify why it didn't work out, rather than just being like, this relationship totally served its karmic purpose. I feel complete and I love you.
Yeah. Wow. I love
Mhm.
that. I love that so much. And I've experienced the same. And there's like this contrast where relationships or friendships that have ended because it was like this abrupt, fuck
Mhm.
no, I'm no longer available for it. There was like a grieving period because it's like, well, where is that love go now?
Yeah.
Right? Where the relationships where it comes to completion, it's like that love still gets to be there because it doesn't need to go anywhere else because it wasn't there's not a void to fill there. It just
Yeah.
it came to a completion. And so one of the things that I, want to just reiterate to the listeners is like not listen to your body and your mind when you feel like you are complete with something and instead of gaining this resentful feeling towards it because it's not doing what you want it to do anymore, or whether it's a
Yeah.
person, place, or thing, right? And just letting that grow, and then you separate on ick terms, and then you have to grieve because there was love there and you have nowhere to put that love anymore, right?
Yes.
It's
Yes.
like just let it come to completion, and then there's no void to fill.
Yes.
You get to spread that love elsewhere, or it gets to remain where it's at. And I think that that's so important. And one of the things that I have learned in my sobriety is how to gr- gratefully let go of things that no longer serve me or people that no longer serve me so that I don't have to fucking grieve because that's hard.
Mhm.
But
Love
I
that.
get to leverage what I've learned from the completion and the experience and then take that love and that energy and displace it somewhere more productive instead of like this screeching coming to a halt. Like I never hit quote unquote rock bottom when I was drinking, but I had the discernment and the self-awareness to know that I didn't want to. I didn't want to get to that point. It served its purpose. I experienced what I needed to, and I was stepping into a new identity. And
Yeah.
so instead of allowing myself to hit rock bottom, lose everything, kill someone in a car crash, do something catastrophic, I just let it come to completion. And that's why it was easy for me to remain sober because it
Mhm.
wasn't this like just cut off. I just let it come to completion instead of waiting for this external catastrophic validation to take action on that. And so I think that that is just so important, and that can really change the trajectory of your future in everything that you do, because everything that we do or every person that we're with or where we move to, like that's all a relationship in some way, shape, or form. And so it's like just listen, and when it's time to complete it, just fucking complete it. Like just let it come to completion.
Yeah. And I completely agree. And I think one thing I'll say to that point is like a big reason why people do the cutoff abrupt is that, it's when you think about yourself as a kid with your parents, it's part of it is like, I'm going to leave before you leave me. And then I'm going to justify why
Mm,
I was righteous.
yeah.
When I see people playing that, and I say this from a place of complete compassion because that was my pattern, I was basically like, fuck you, I'm going to leave first.
Yes.
And my friends in high school used to, or in university used to call me the runaway bride. They were
I
like,
love
oh,
it.
there she goes. She's wearing her running shoes. And because my whole thing was my biggest core wound was abandonment, which a lot of us have a core fear of abandonment. One of our two core fears is the fear of death and fear of abandonment.
Mm,
And Mine was this deep abandonment. So when we have an abandonment wound, Nick, it's like, I'm going to leave first so I never
Yeah.
feel abandoned. I'm going to
Mhm.
cut off this friend. I'm going to be righteous about it. I'm not going to complete. I'm going to be cold. I'm going to avoid. I'm going to talk, whatever it is. That's all the 6-year-old. That's that trauma brain. For you to be able to have a completion conversation with someone or complete an energy, it takes such a level of emotional mastery and maturity and
Yes.
awareness to
Mhm.
be like, there is nothing wrong here. I'm just so complete. There's no charge, there's no righteousness, there's no patterns. It's just coming from a place of love. And love doesn't mean unicorns and rainbows. Love means highest and best good for all. So that can be like a marriage comes to completion in the highest and best good for all, meaning that both people are better off. And it takes emotional mastery to be able to complete. And I think that is actually a skill as an entrepreneur that you need to have every day of your life because you're
100%.
you're completing with clients, you're completing with offers, you're completing with yourself. What parts of my identity no longer serve this version of me? Like for me, what I let go of the most last year was completing the need to people please or the need to be liked or the need to sort of dim my message to sound a little bit like not really saying anything. And part of what I really took on this year for myself in working with other mentors and in really dialing into my human design with Amy Elizabeth, who's amazing at that. My whole thing is she's like, you're a 5 line in your design, and the 5 line is meant to, you're the trailblazer. You're actually supposed to be polarizing. You're
Yeah.
supposed to say, like, vaginal manifestation's not a thing, guys.
Yes.
Like,
Are you a 5-1?
I'm a 3-5.
Okay. I'm a
So I'm
5-1.
trial and error, burn it, the Phoenix,
Yeah.
and so it's a very complicated design. Melanie is the same. Her and I are both many gens, 3-5s. And so the 5 line is like, you're the trailblazer. You need to be saying something that matters. You're basically going to be polarizing to people, but the people that are captivated by you are like a fly on a wall, like they can't
Mhm.
stop staring. And then the people that don't like you, they're going to move away. And I had to do a lot of inner work to not take that part personally. Like there are people that unfollow. There are people that don't like it. There are people that think I shouldn't say fuck on the internet. No one ever tells me that, but like, I don't fucking care. There are people that are like, well, why are you like probably thinking, oh my God, I can't believe she said this. Like, and it's like, by the way, I do believe that people like Kim Anami, if you don't follow Kim Anami, she's amazing. Like she's the pro in that space talking about manifestation through
Yeah.
using sexual intimacy. Like she's a queen. I've done her programs. She is like, but then every other person who literally like, you're just like, you say that and it makes me feel ick because it's not embodied. It's not integrated.
Mm,
It needs to be embodied and integrated to not give the ick. So what
yeah.
I've really taken on for myself this year is, and it's funny because my participants, my students, the people in my masterminds, they think I'm like the boldest person on the planet. And in my mind, I'm like, oh no, like I'm just stepping into the era of being bold. Like you haven't even heard anything yet. Like, and so that's my evolution is let part of what I was trying to get to is letting go of the part of me that still has that little bit that says, if you say that, are you going to piss someone off?
Mm,
And are they going to leave? Right. And the other part of me, the bigger part now, has come in and said, if they're going to leave, they were going to leave anyway. And
yeah.
like, I don't want to betray myself and hold myself back anymore because one thing I'll tell you, ladies who are listening, self-betrayal,
Mm,
which women do often, is the greatest source of injury. It leads to depression, anxiety, drinking. Like the more we betray ourselves, the more we fall out of alignment with our truth. So what I've come to decide is I would rather lose someone than betray myself.
yeah. Yeah. At the end of the day, we go to bed with ourselves, right? We go
Mhm.
to bed with ourselves. And this is why it's so important for me. And this was a really hard concept for me to step into was doing the things in my life that are my responsibility for me first, doing my business for me first, my messaging for me first, my branding for me first, the things I want to buy for me first, everything for me first, because that's when I operate at my highest frequency is when I love what I'm doing and I'm not doing it for the external validation. I'm not doing it for the byproduct and which in turn gets me a bigger byproduct, right? So yeah,
100%. Oh, I love for me first. Oh,
it's
that's so good.
I mean, it's crazy because I have this conversation with some people, and I haven't had this conversation in a while, but where somebody will be like, "Well, you're a service-based business. It should be about the customer first." And it's like, there is no fucking way in hell that I'm running a seven-figure company with that motherfucker in mind first.
Yeah.
Like there's no way. Like
Yeah.
this business model supports my lifestyle, and whatever I integrate for offers and to serve into that business model, that will
Yeah.
be for the woman that I serve. But my business is for me first.
Yeah.
And I think that's a hard concept for a lot of people to step into because we are in a service-based industry. But it's not like I don't lead from the place of, well, no, you don't matter. Like I'm only going to be in here for like 5 minutes a day. And that's because I come first. Like I'm not saying that I come first,
No, no,
but what
no.
I do is for me first.
100%.
I'm doing you a disservice if I'm operating at a lower frequency to put everybody else before me.
That's called
Absolutely not.
martyrdom. That's called martyrdom.
Yeah.
Totally. But what you're doing right now, what you're saying is breaking a generational like trauma bond that women have had forever, which is put everyone else first,
Mm,
the martyrdom. And I see this with every woman that comes into my world has to basically work through that pattern of, especially if you're a mom and you're a caregiver and you're like, how do I do me first with my kids? It's like, isn't it shameful to say that? And to really claim and own, no, like if you're dead, how is that going to serve your kids? If you're clinically depressed, how is that going to serve your kids? If
mm,
your health is shit, how is that going to serve your kids? And I have to work so hard at the beginning with women to really get them integrated into the true belief that like actually me first isn't
yeah,
selfish. But we all
absolutely.
have to do that journey because like we're taught as women and conditioned, put everybody else before you. What's
100%.
what's your human design? What's your lines?
I am a 5-1 sacral generator,
Oh, you're a 5-1.
and
There you
everything in my astrology is Scorpio.
go. Shocking.
I know, I'm such a like calm, grounded introvert that I didn't even think that would be obvious. Yeah. And
It's
and
very
I love how you said that tapping into your human design, has really brought you back to yourself and home to yourself and really in
yeah.
that deep season of self-discovery because when I learned the the operating points of my human design,
Mhm.
everything kind of like I had this aha moment like, "Oh my gosh, this is why I did this, or this is why I did that, or this is why I've been married 3 times, or this is why I've been," you know what I mean? And it's like I
Yeah.
went back to like my childhood like, "Holy shit, this all makes so much sense." And
Totally.
understanding my human design, and I say this on a lot of my episodes and episodes that I'm in because I'm just so fascinated by it, but it's like my husband is an emotional projector. And
Mhm.
he's also he's very, conservative and just practical and whatever and doesn't really he's like, "Oh, I don't really get the crystals and stuff that you do, the woo that you do, but it's cool. I support you, all of this." So it's like he's whatever. But it's like here I am, like, "Park on the fucking curb," and he's like 87 years later finally finds a parking spot. But it's like me understanding my human design and then understanding his human design, it actually allows me to navigate our relationship better and create more of a partnership instead of just going, "Why the fuck are you like this?" And
100%.
so, like, when I discovered human design, I discovered it shortly after I got sober, and I was like, "Oh my God, thank God. Thank God this is here. Thank God this resource is here and I can actually dive into like how I'm supposed to operate," because I was
Yeah.
like a newborn naked fucking baby crying. Like I still had the white stuff on me, okay? Like I'm like, "What do I do in this life? I don't know what to do."
I'm telling you, like that's been a big thing I've taken on this year is, part of it is I think we all have to go through the season of, you said it to me in the voice note yesterday, our masculine, like the grind. And I will say this because I've actually been contemplating this a lot, and I know we probably have to go here soon, but the way I teach is I very much believe in the masculine and the feminine and the unity of both. But I do believe that when people are starting a business, there is a season of needing to be in that healthy masculine.
Yeah.
And like that's sort of my strength is like the real integrity and discipline and structure and strategy and mindset, like the work that you have to do to get yourself off the ground to then be able to go into your feminine and receive, right? Like,
Well, absolutely. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
Whereas
the
a
masculine
lot of,
is money and structure.
yes,
And we
masculine,
can't,
yeah,
absolutely, we can't tap into our feminine and be the rich, relaxed CEO if we
yeah,
don't have the money and the structure. And
I
as
know.
much as people want to be
Mhm.
in their soft era from the get-go,
It doesn't happen.
structure and money, it does not come from the feminine.
I agree.
I'm just gonna say it.
I
I'm just gonna
teach the
fucking
same.
say it.
Oh my God,
Whoa.
I say the same things. I'm like, you're not going to rub crystals together and but like that is a beautiful practice. And
Yes.
I'm in the more feminine era of my I still am I'm always going to be strong in my masculine. I'm just that's me. It's my design.
Mhm.
I fucking am a doer.
Mhm.
But I can relax and receive because I have a beautiful team that supports me and I have a business that now works for me. Like but it's taken me years to cultivate that. And I think learning my design, what I'm really tapped into now, and this is kind of what's next for me, is a little foreshadow, is what does it look like to truly tap into those parts of me that are just so aligned and
Yeah.
only run my business in this really aligned way. And the minute I've even made that decision, Nick, like over the last 3 months, I was working with Amy and her mastermind. It was a 5-line mastermind and it was fucking awesome. And I really started to understand like my design more. And even in just being in that mindset of like, nope, don't want to work with people like this. Nope, that offer doesn't work for me. Cause my 3-5 and I'm a full sacral, like double sacral. So it's Amy's like, I was the only one in the group that was double sacral. Shocking. And I was basically like, hell yes or fuck no is really my
Yeah.
no. Like there's nothing in between. But where I've fucked myself over in my life is when I'm like, well, maybe because it's a good intellectual choice. No, 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 no.
Yeah, nice thought.
Yeah, and no, she's like, Adele, you're a hell yes, like uh-huh or uh-uh. You're double sacral. Okay, Manny Jen, double sacral. Like that's it. So that freedom alone, there were offers and things I was doing in my business that I was like, and she's like, I was like, hey, I said to my team, out, 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 out. No, not working with people like this anymore. No, 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 no. Like, and as I've started to clear deck, we had like our greatest month in our business. I barely worked. Just the mindset alone of giving yourself permission to truly align with what makes you fucking happy
Mhm.
is the next evolution of leadership because
Amen.
I know I can hustle and grind my way all the way to the top, but I don't teach that. I
Yeah.
teach alignment. I teach doing things that are in alignment with your truth. I teach not self-betraying yourself. I teach intuition. I teach like what actually makes you happy. I teach like it gets to be easy. And so I'm really cultivating what's the next level of that for me.
Yeah.
Like how aligned can I be? How effortless does it get to be for me? Because my design is all about effortlessness. And when the minute it starts to become not, I get very resentful. That's my not self theme is frustration, which I'm like my husband will take a look at me and he'll be like, because I'm like, I'm so frustrated.
Same.
So yeah, so and my husband and I are the same human design. Like except he's a Manny Gen. He's double sacral, but he's a 5-2. But our charts are the exact same. We're born 3 days apart the same year. We're like mirror images. So we're so good at looking at each other in the mirror and being like, oh my God. Like, and he'll look at me and being like, what are you doing? That's you don't want to do it. Like the first thing he'll say is like, what are you doing that you don't want to do anymore? And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
right. I don't want to do this course anymore. I don't want to do the
Mhm.
program this way anymore. I don't want to be on Zoom anymore as much. I want to just be free. I'm in the era of like living my best life. And he's like, okay, cool. So what needs to what needs to go?
Yeah.
And then I will literally, Nick, like pivot that same week. I'll call my team and I'll be like, hey, I'm not doing this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. And they're so great at knowing Adele is just truly like walking her walk. Like
Yeah.
I just refuse to do anything in my life that doesn't bring me joy anymore.
Absolutely. Yeah, we must be on the same path. It's funny. It's funny that you brought up your husband though, because I'll be
Yeah.
sitting on the couch and I'll be going, my husband's like, what are you going to get rid of?
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like,
Oh,
well, I'm actually just going through things in my closet that I need to get rid of. So it'll just be a quick task, like he just
no, no,
knows, he knows because
100%.
that's how I process the purge. It's like, I think about it. It's not contemplation. It's just setting it up so it can be really quick and get it done with because I know I'm making that decision right then and there. He's like,
Yeah.
what are you going to get rid of? But then he knows that something else is coming. He's like, oh, another trip to Home Goods then.
Yeah. Listen, I think that is really like my closing kind of piece is that
Yeah.
I truly do feel like we all have to go as entrepreneurs through a really interesting journey. And the journey often looks like, something works, then it doesn't. We try to recreate what works. We realize we can't captivate
Mm,
we can't step in the same river twice. We then have to deal with ourselves and letting go of what no longer serves us. That comes with grief and hard feelings. We have to process those feelings. All we're ever doing is becoming more aware of our oneness with God or the universe. We're becoming more ourselves. We let go of the things that no longer serve us. I mean, we're all on that path, are we
yeah.
not? Like,
Yeah.
that is the path. And
Absolutely.
then we get to a place where, and I will say this, and then I think we do have to go because I have to go pick up my son. Mom, we get to a place where, and I could say this to you because I just feel this comfortable. Like I've made millions of dollars in my business. We do multiple six-figure months, and I love the simple life. Like I
Yeah.
don't, that is like, that's now just like like it's a foregone conclusion that I'm going to be successful. I don't worry about the money anymore because I just know it's always there.
Yeah.
And now I get to tap into what do I love? Like the art of what I do. And when you're focused on just the money because you don't have it, you're just like, I just need the money. And then when you get the money, you realize it's not just about the money, but you have to make the money in order to realize it's not just about the money. Because
Absolutely.
it's not just something I can tell you, it's not just about the money.
Yeah.
You've got to have your own like lived experience of, okay, I have millions of dollars, amazing. I don't even need that much to live. Like, how much do I really even need to live? And I'm not loving what I'm doing, which has kind of been my quest this year is refining like, okay, what parts of the business I don't love anymore. And then it's like I'm in this era of what if it's for the art? What if it's for, like you said, for me?
Yeah.
What if, even though people might think it's crazy, like I might take a year off next year and take a sabbatical? Like, what if?
Yeah.
That's kind of like, and it's been so fun to play in that field. And it's been like, even though I'm already thinking that way, my business is almost doing better because I'm lovingly detached and I'm letting go of things that don't work for me. They might work for everybody else. And then I'm like, maybe I take the year off next year and maybe I write my book and maybe I travel with my family. And what if I do that? Right. So it's been really cool to work through all these evolutions of myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, just promise you're going to come see me if you travel. If you're taking a year
Where are
off and you don't come
where
see me, I'm
are
going
you
to be
going?
like,
Where do you live?
I'm in Wisconsin.
Oh my God. I'm gonna go travel to Wisconsin. Okay, how about we meet somewhere more cool?
Where are you?
I'm in Toronto. I'm in Canada. How about we meet in Miami or
What's
something? I
not
don't
cool about
I know
Wisconsin,
Wisconsin. We're
Adele?
pretty much like neighbors.
I
But
love
yes,
this.
like
Love
I
this.
just feel I'm feeling this freedom vibe right now, and it's been really fun.
You are absolutely incredible. I
Thank
adore you. I love
you.
you. I'm so happy that we had this conversation. Can
Likewise.
you just tell
Yeah.
everybody in my audience about the rocket ship?
Oh, okay. So the Rocketship is my last live group coaching program of this year, possibly for a while, because I might actually take a hiatus. Um, and it's one of my favorite programs. I ran it last year. And essentially, the whole idea of the Rocketship is learning how to turn your annual income into a monthly income. It's
Mm,
essentially learning how to collapse time around a goal. And it doesn't just have to be financial, although it is usually business people that want to really break through their set point. But I've had people in there do it like a weight loss goal or a sobriety goal or like basically anything.
yeah.
And what I love about it is it's a 90-day container with me and it's bi-weekly group live coaching call. So you actually get on and you get into my energy and I get to coach you on the spot. This is the exact framework and methodology that my mentors who I mentored with, it's how I actually went from an entrepreneur that was like barely making ends meet to hitting my first $100,000 day, $200,000 day, $500,000 week, effortless, like working 4 days a week, like not grinding. So it's my favorite program to, I'm actually excited because I'm going to take myself through it again. Like I'm going to play a 90-day game with the participants. So it's just like the energy of the group is fantastic. So that's my Rocketship program. It's happening in the fall. It starts in September. It's my last live group coaching program. So it's for people that they want to do a 90-day goal. They want to play that game with me. They want to be in my live energy. They want to be in a community of people that are working towards a goal. It's just amazing. So you can find all that information on my Instagram, in my links. I'm sure we'll put in my Instagram handle in here.
Yep.
And I'd love to have people in it. It's honestly just a really fun container for 90 days.
And I'll be there.
Yes, you'll be there.
And I'll be there. So,
And I've
hey,
actually had people that signed up, like I ran it last year and they're doing it again because it's kind of like, even if it's a program I've ever already run, it's never the same twice because I'm never the same
absolutely.
twice. And I'm just bringing like a whole other energy. And like, there are people that are going for $1 million in 90 days. There'll be people like and then like being in a program where everyone is going after a goal in the most heart-centered, aligned, effortless, because I teach the whole principle that success gets to be easy. And I teach the distinction, what's the easiest way to make the result happen in your
Mm.
life, not the hardest and more complicated way. So people's brain are exploding because they're like, how can I do in 1 month what I've done in a year? And I'm like, that's what we're going to find out, right? So
You
it's
better be on the rocket ship.
yeah, and you're going to be on the rocket ship and you're going to get it. So yeah, so I'm at under Adele underscore Tevlin, and all of that information is in the bio.
Yeah, I'll definitely drop the link for both of those in the description.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank
Watch
you.
watch Adele be on the cover of our first issue of Rich and Flow magazine in the fall as well. And oh, I just wanted to tell you real quick, because of
Yeah.
you, I
Mm.
actually accepted the cover of Brains that's coming out
Oh,
tomorrow.
I'm so excited to
I
see
was
that
like,
because of you.
twins. I'm going for it. It was your influence. I was like, I've been writing for them for like 87 years. I might as well just do it. So, yeah, excited.
I can't wait to see it. I'm sure it's going to be stunning. That was a really
Ah,
fun experience. Yeah.
yes, I love you. I can't
I
wait to
love
chat
you.
with you soon. Thank you,
Thank you.
everybody who listened. Share this, share this, share this. So many good nuggets in here. I will talk to you on the next episode of With Love, Nic, with love, Nic and Adele.